I have here a pair of earrings. They're hollow, but they're on the heavier side. They're pretty nicely made. One of the problems with the earrings that the designer, the maker of it, didn't finish was the tubing. Here, they never soldered it, so they would always come loose and these smaller hoops would try to fall off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to solder those out. But it's fairly delicate soldering because if I remember right, there's 5 or 6 soldering joints around there that you have to be mindful of. Now, I'm going to, this time, I'm going to be using my clamp as a little bit of a heat sink. In other words, I don't want the solder to flow in certain areas, so I'm trying to protect, and plus they're hollow. So I'm going to lower this down in here so that I can solder. You can see the soldering joint right here. That's what I have to solder. So I'm going to go ahead and I have a number 4 tip on there. I'm going to go ahead and grab some solder. If I keep it lit, it's harder to keep lit. Okay, so I'm going to grab some solder. So I have my solder. I'm going to add some flux. There goes the flux. And I'm going to come in here with the right kind of flame. I'm making it even a little smaller and a little bit hotter. So I'm just waiting for it to heat up. The solder's on there, but it's not flowed. I'm going to put a hotter tip on there. Add any more heat. The solder started to flow on part of it here. So you can see why I moved away from it quickly. Yeah, the solder's flowing in other places. The solder has flowed to a degree. And there we go. I got that one soldered. So there's one of the two. I'll go ahead and I'll put that in the acid here shortly. But I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to figure out which side I can get to the easiest. And it's the other side. So first step, of course, I'm going to put it in boric acid and alcohol. Try not to drop it like I did. But I'm going to go ahead and put the center ring in the clamp. I'm going to bring it down. This one's even harder to get to because the seam is a little bit further back than the other one. So trying to get to it, plus it's tighter to the wire that goes through the tubing. So here I'm going to go and get some solder. This is pretty dangerous, this one. A lot of people will be screaming, well, use a laser. Well, I don't own a laser. There's nothing wrong with understanding your craft and being able to do it like the old guys did it. The craftsmen did it. So here I am once again. There's some of the solder. I'm going to get some more because it doesn't look like it's quite enough for me to solder this. So there's the solder on there. Let's see if I get it to flow without it falling apart. So far it doesn't want to behave. So there it is. I got it. I got both of them. It's not the neatest soldering joint, but it's much better than what they had. It will not fall apart. So now I'm going to take these, I'm going to throw them in the acid that I cleaned up.